Welcome back on this Tuesday. Glad that you are joining us as we are starting a new chapter, chapter 8. Now, this chapter, in a way, has a little bit of something for everyone. There are some parables, there are healings, there is other narrative showing relationships and followers of Jesus. In many ways, it's showing all of the things that are going on as Jesus continues to minister there in Galilee. Let's begin looking at the first 3 verses. Soon afterward, he went on through the cities and villages, proclaiming and bringing the good news of the kingdom of God. And the 12 were with him, and also some women who had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities. Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out, and Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's household manager, and Susanna, and many others who provided for them out of their means. In a way, this is kind of an interesting section, right? It starts as you would expected. He went out through cities and villages proclaiming the kingdom of God. That's what Jesus was about. It mentioned that the 12 were with him. And then it goes into 2 verses about these women, mentioning 3 by name: Mary Magdalene, who would be, John records, as the witness to the resurrection. Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's household manager. So she had a connection, or her husband had a connection to Herod, most likely connecting why Herod wanted to see Jesus when he was arrested. Susanna, we don't know much about her, must have been important in the early church. And then it says, and many others who provided for them out of their means. You see, there wasn't just a group of these 12 men following Jesus. There were women as well. Women following, providing for him as well. In a way, Jesus, again, is breaking down those barriers that had been caused, that had been set up by having these women be followers. In a way, his disciples, not the 12, not the apostles, but the 12 who were going out as well, supporting him in his ministry. Let's continue, verses 4 through 8. And when a great crowd was gathering, and people from town after town came to him, he said in a parable, a sower went out to sow his seed. And as he sowed, some fell along the path, and some was trampled underfoot, and the birds of the air devoured it. And some fell on the rock, and as it grew up, it withered away because it had no moisture. And some fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up with it and choked it. And some fell into good soil and grew and yielded 100-fold. And as he said these things, he called out, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. Again, a great crowd is gathering here. As he goes from town to town, people are following, gathering around him. Now, notice it doesn't say where he is going in at this time. Somewhere in Galilee, or moving around as he's teaching, spreading the kingdom of God. More people are coming to hear, so he speaks to them. And as he's speaking to them, he speaks in a parable. He just tells a story. We're going to learn more about the meaning of the story tomorrow. But as we look at it today, he's speaking in a parable. The parable is the one of a sower. The sower goes out to sow seeds. That's what a sower does. And remember that as they were sowing, they would take a handful and they would scatter them out throughout the area. Some of the seed would go where they wanted to in the plowed field. Others, to get close to it, would go on the trail, on the road. There might be rocky areas, weedy areas. Some of the seed would go there as well. And he's pointing out of what happens to that seed, that if it's on the path, it gets trampled, the birds eat it, it has no chance to sprout. Among the rocks, it gets that moisture, it sprouts up, but it has no roots, and the heat comes and it withers. Among the thorns is choked. It's really telling the story that they could relate to, because it was a very agrarian area and a time, so they knew about sowing seeds. It ends with this interesting phrase that transitions us into tomorrow's. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. It points that this sowing has to do with hearing. Again, we're going to look more at this parable tomorrow, a little bit too much to cover today. So we'll hear Jesus talking about it and explaining it to the disciples in tomorrow's reading. We'll talk more about it then. God bless.